Hey guys, welcome back. It's time. We're going to take a look at another court case here. This one in British Columbia, Canada. Very interesting to see something like this because it means that it's an example. It's something that can be used in future cases. We see scammers all the time. Here we have a case which is almost certainly someone that is selling cards to multiple people, not actually sending the cards that they say they're going to send. Again, they make it in the form of a payment, an e-transfer. For you non-Canadians, we don't Zelle, we don't do all that other Cash App, etc. We just have, you can e-transfer from bank to bank very easily. Again, those are very hard to reverse transactions, which you got to be very careful of. In the case of purchasing stuff like this, you should be using PayPal, friends and family, when applicable. When it's not friends, when it's not family, when you gotta be certain that you're getting something, or you need that buyer protection, you gotta go with the old PayPal, friends and family. So, or transaction in person, whatever you need to do, whatever is suitable. Definitely not random e-transfers. So we have a small claims decision here that was in favor of the buyers. Pretty wild that it has something like this ends up in small claims court, but I'm glad to see that it did, and that the people that were scammed ended up getting their money back. Weird way to end up getting your name put on the internet in news articles, etc. All for the sake of making, in this case, like $1,000 between two people that you ripped off. If you ripped off other people, hopefully they come forward as well. But let's get into it here. We have a civil resolution tribunal indexed as Younes v. Hall. We have between Andrew Younes and Jalilzadeh Kabani. If I'm pronouncing that wrong, my apologies. It's extremely hard to pronounce. And then we have Zachary Hall, the scammeroni in this case, and Celeste Robinson, which is, it kind of shows throughout the document here that she didn't really have a whole lot to do with it, other than the fact that this is Zachary's spouse, and she helps with the Pokemon card flip dipping. Interesting. All right. Introduction. The applicants, Andrew Younes and Jalilzadeh, each purchased collectible Pokemon cards from the respondent, Zachary Hall. They say that Mr. Hall sent them the wrong cards as part of a scam. The other respondent, Celeste Robinson, is Mr. Hall's spouse. The applicants say that Miss Robinson is part of Mr. Hall's card-selling business. Mr. Younes claimed a $975 refund, and Mr. Kabani claims a $260 refund. Mr. Hall says the applicants' allegations are false. He accuses them of trying to make a quick few bucks. Miss Robinson denies any involvement in the sales. They ask that I dismiss both applicants' claims. Mr. Younes represents the applicants. Mr. Hall represents the respondents. So here we go. We have a jurisdiction and procedure. These are the formal written reasons of the Civil Resolution Tribunal, CRT. The CRT has jurisdiction over small claims brought under Section 118 of the Civil Resolution Tribunal Act, CRTA. Section 2 of the CRTA states that the CRT's mandate is to provide dispute resolution services accessibly, quickly, economically, informally, and flexibly. Can you imagine Imagine how ridiculous this is in the courtroom. In resolving disputes, the CRT must apply principles of law and fairness and recognize any relationships between the disputes parties that will likely continue after the CRT process is ended. All right, so we get more details here about the CRTA. We're not going to go through. We have at the end here, it says, Mr. Hall's submissions include several arguments about how the applicant served him and Miss Robinson with the dispute notice. Both respondents filed dispute responses, and Mr. Hall fully participated in the tribunal decision process by uploading evidence and making submissions. I therefore find that nothing turns on how they were served. Issues. The issues in this dispute are, was Miss Robinson a party to contact with either Mr. Younes or Mr. Kabani? Did Mr. Hall send the wrong cards to Mr. Younes? did Mr. Hall send the wrong cards to Mr. Chiabani? What remedy, if any, is appropriate? Clearly a refund. I think the whole thing is just sort of embarrassing, as is, but mostly for the seller who's ripping these people off. And hopefully if anyone else was ripped off by this person, or this person and his wife, they now have the reason to come forward and say that they did. Evidence and analysis. In a civil claim such as this, Mr. Yunes and Mr. Chiabani, as the applicants, must each prove their case on a balance of probabilities, which means more likely than not. While I have read all the parties' evidence and submissions, I only refer to what is necessary to explain my decision. I will first briefly address whether either applicant proved that Miss Robinson was a party to their contact. As mentioned above, Miss Robinson is Mr. Hall's spouse. Mr. Yunes says that Miss Robinson was directly involved in a previous sale and maintains a related YouTube channel. We gotta find that. However, for the sales at issue here, all of the applicants' Facebook messages were only with Mr. Hall. They both sent their money to Mr. Hall, and the return addresses on both packages showed the sender as Mr. Hall. While it may be true that Miss Robinson was involved with Mr. Hall's activities selling Pokemon cards, I find that there is no evidence that Miss Robinson was a party to the applicant's contracts at issue in this dispute. I dismiss the applicant's claims against Miss Robinson. I will address Mr. Yunes' claim first. The following facts are undisputed and come mostly from the parties' Facebook Messenger history. Mr. Yunes and Mr. Hall first did business in early May 2021. Mr. Yunes purchased several cards from Mr. Hall, and he received what he had ordered. They used an intermediary for those transactions. So we built a little bit of trust here. We got a little bit of trust going. We got the middleman. We're middlemaning at this point. But then I guess here we see the parties agreed to the sale at issue in this dispute on June 8, 2021. For the sale, Mr. Hall did not want to use an intermediary. Mr. Yunes agreed and paid Mr. Hall $975 for 6 specific cards by e-transfer. Between June 8 and 15, 2021, Mr. Yunes asked Mr. Hall several times if he had sent the cards. Mr. Hall eventually sent a package on June 15, 2021. Again, none of this is disputed. By June 15, 2021, Mr. Yunes says he was beginning to get suspicious. So that's the thing too here. Like if you're doing these e-transfers, there's many methods to actually get your information. If you wrong somebody, if you're scamming somebody, the payment info tracks straight back to you. It's your bank account. You can't just open a bank account for funsies onesies. And I probably might even be a better system or a better way of making sure that you don't get ripped off than in the U.S. I mean, still at this point, like look at the hassle that these two have to go through in order to get their money back. But at the same time, I'm glad that they did, because if this person is taking advantage of other people in this manner, then hopefully this is a reason for them to stop. Mr. Yunes says he had found other Facebook posts where it appeared that Mr. Hall had sold the same cards to other people. Classic. Absolute classic. He expressed his concerns to Mr. Hall on June 15, 2021, and Mr. Hall unsent much of his message history with Mr. Yunes, including the photos he used to sell the cards. So we got a J-Boy detection, 9,000, J-Boy 69, deleting messages, deleting pictures and stuff. There's nothing that makes you look more guilty when you start deleting message history. Like, it's the reason that I have to save and record every single message ever, because people that are doing wrong things, they delete that stuff. Surprise, surprise. In hopes, I guess, that you didn't record or screenshot any of it. Mr. Yunes found this suspicious as well, although he had already saved copies of the photos in question, my bad. Mr. Yunes also says that he did not get a video showing Mr. Hall packaging the cards, which he had for previous transactions. Ooh. Instead, he got a photo showing a closed box addressed to Mr. Yunes at a post office ready to be shipped. And I mean, that's not really proving anything. You're just showing that you're shipping the stuff, not that you put the stuff in the box. So it's weird. If you're going to have tracking information anyway, why you would actually take a photo at the post office that you were shipping it out. I mean, I get like sending a photo of like the tracking number or something like that. But at that point, if you're making the label beforehand at home, just send the number. The package was delivered on June 21, 2021. By then, Mr. Yunes believed that Mr. Hall had scammed him, so he took a video of himself opening the box. I accept that this video is genuine for two reasons. First, the box appears to be taped in the same way in the video as in the photo Mr. Hall sent before it was shipped. Second, Mr. Yunes says he opened it less than 10 minutes after picking it up at the courier. The tracking information and evidence shows that Mr. Yunes picked it up at 2:22 p.m. on June 21st, 2021, and the time on Mr. Yunes' watch in the video is around 2:30. I find it unlikely that Mr. Yunes would have been able to open, repack, and reopen the package in that short amount of time. The package I mean, he could have changed his watch, but like the odds of him doing that, probably pretty slim to none. The package included only a basketball card and a baseball card. There were no Pokemon cards at all. I addressed Mr. Hall's response below. I mean, you could also weigh the package, the total contents. I guess he could have weighed it before he opened it. Turning to Mr. Kiabani's claim, he sent Mr. Hall a Facebook message on June 13th, 2021, after Mr. Hall had posted a card for sale. Mr. Kiabani agreed to the $260 price, and he transferred Mr. Hall this amount later on June 13th, 2021. Mr. Kiabani received the package from Mr. Hall on June 16th, 2021. Mr. Kiabani says that the valuable Pokemon card he bought was not there. Instead, there were several Pokemon cards that he says are worth a few cents or dollars each. So he sent him some bulk. Again, another instance where he sent the wrong amount of cards. So the package weight, I mean, if you're not checking the package weight beforehand, or maybe it might be stated on the actual package itself, depending on how it was shipped. If Canada Post actually weighed the package. Mr. Kiabani provided a photo of what appears to be roughly 15 Pokemon cards beside the open package. He sent a message to Mr. Hall that he had received the wrong cards, but Mr. Hall never responded. Also a pretty bad sign. If you're saying like, hey, I didn't get the right cards, what did you send me? And then you don't get a response. The applicants say that I should not believe the respondents because they are defendants in a BC Supreme Court action against the Director of Civil Forfeiture. In that action, the Director of Civil Forfeiture makes several allegations against the respondents of criminal activity, which are unrelated to this dispute. At this point, these are nothing more than allegations, so we have not considered the existence of this lawsuit assessing Mr. Hall's credibility. Well, I don't know how I feel on this stuff. If it's an unrelated crime, if it's still crime, if it's still someone that's like committing crimes that are even somewhat related, I feel like they should probably be applicable. But maybe that's just me. The law exists for a reason. To me, if there's a criminal that's being accused of doing something that's also criminal, it should at least not necessarily. It shouldn't necessarily be the verdict. It's not automatic or whatever, but I think you should still take into consideration that if somebody's ripping people off in one hobby or one sector, then they try to rip somebody off elsewhere. Different story. If he was jaywalking or he had some speeding tickets or something like that, maybe it's not the same thing. Mr. Hall's submissions are difficult to follow and generally fail to address the only issue in this dispute, which is whether he sent the applicants the cards they bought. Yeah, so that's the thing too. When you start defending all kinds of other crap that isn't the actual allegations, then you're probably beating around the bush for a reason. Much of Mr. Hall's evidence is about past customers who have been happy with their purchase. You see that too with the online scammers all the time. He'll be like, look at my feedback. I got awesome feedback. Johnny Jilbo McNobo 69 on Instagram says I'm an excellent seller, and they even made a dedicated post praising me with all the prayer hands and fire emojis. And they said that anyone that doesn't believe me is a skull emoji. I find that this is irrelevant to whether Mr. Hall sent the right cards to the applicants for the purchases at issue in this dispute. Mr. Hall also focused on Mr. Yoon's efforts on Facebook to find other disappointed buyers to join this CRT dispute, which he considers slanderous. Okay. Mr. Hall did not make a counterclaim, and in any event, the CRT has no jurisdiction or legal authority over defamation claims. Yeah. I mean, reaching out and saying like, hey, I got scammed by this person. Did anyone else get scammed? Not defamation, regardless of whether they have any legal authority over that. Only the BC Supreme Court can hear defamation claims. I find that Mr. Yoon's activities after the sale are irrelevant. Right. It is not entirely clear what Mr. Hall says happened with the two sales at issue. At one point, Mr. Hall seems to suggest that the applicants may have received the wrong cards because sometimes mail gets lost or mixed and people make mistakes. So again, we're making excuses. We're pointing to stuff that is not relevant to the actual situation here. Probably a bad sign. He never explicitly says that he sent the right cards to either applicant, although he does describe their accusations as false. It is unclear, however, whether this denial is about their allegation that they received the wrong cards or their allegation that Mr. Hall is a scammer. He also did not provide packaging videos for the two sales at issue, although his evidence of past sales to other customers shows that he often took them. Yeah, you would think if it was like $900, $925, whatever it was, that's probably the one that you take the video on, not the one that you decide to skip, and then the one that you also conveniently decide to skip, having the middleman for that transaction. I can see maybe on that $200 one if it wasn't worth your time to take a video of it. But on balance, I find that the applicants have both proven their claims. For Mr. Yoon's claims, I find that the unpackaging video is clear evidence that he received something different from what he bought. In addition, I find that Mr. Hall's failure to acknowledge or address this evidence in his lengthy submissions undermines his credibility overall. Mr. Hall's failure to provide an explanation of what happened or to explicitly deny the applicant's allegations suggests that he knows he sent the wrong cards, whether it was on purpose or not. It was on purpose. Come on. Mr. Kiyabani does not have the same smoking gun evidence because he did not record himself unpackaging the cards. However, given that Mr. Hall does not say anything about Mr. Kiyabani's photo or what cards he sent Mr. Kiyabani, I find that the photo likely shows what Mr. Kiyabani received. I note again that he contacted Mr. Hall immediately after opening it to complain about receiving the wrong cards. I find Mr. Hall's failure to respond telling. As for the appropriate remedy, both applicants asked for a full refund. I acknowledge that the cards that the applicants received may have marginal market value, although there is no concrete evidence of how much. However, on a judgment basis, I find that a full refund is appropriate for both applicants. I think that's the best way to go. It's just like full refund. They both paid for high-value Pokemon cards and received items that held little to no value to them. So I wouldn't. You're not subtracting off the bulk that he sent or the basketball card or whatever was in the other one. I therefore order Mr. Hall to pay Mr. Yoon's $975 and Mr. Kiyabani $260. The Court Order Interest Act, COIA, applies to the CRT. The applicants are both entitled to pre-judgment interest from the day they sent their respective e-transfers to the date of this decision. For Mr. Yoon's, this equals $3.38. For Mr. Kiyabani, this equals 88 cents. Was that part necessary? No, probably not. But if it was a year that went by and it was a larger sum of money, then I guess it's in place for a reason. Under Section 49 of the CRTA and CRT rules, the CRT will generally order an unsuccessful party to reimburse a successful party for CRT fees and reasonable dispute-related expenses. Mr. Yunes paid the CRT fees for the applicants, so I find he is entitled to reimbursement of $125 in CRT fees. I also find that he is entitled to be reimbursed $12 for registered mail as a dispute-related expense. Mr. Kiabani did not claim any dispute-related expenses. Within 30 days of the date of this order, I order Mr. Hall to pay Mr. Yunes a total of $1,115.38, broken down as follows. Within 30 days of this date of order, I order Mr. Hall to pay Mr. Kiabani a total of $260.88, broken down as follows. If anyone that was featured in this article would like to talk to me about what went on, I'd love to hear about what the actual cards were and see the actual DMs in question, the remaining DMs, the ones that were deleted, etc. If you'd like to chat, do reach out. Send me a DM on Discord, Instagram, Twitter, what have you, and we can chat about it. I'm kind of interested on the finer details that aren't really in the court documents, but be interesting to see what he was actually supposed to send, and if he was selling it to other people. To show the exact same card being sold to other people, I think is just like that's the end. There's not really any arguing your point after that. You clearly were selling to multiple people. You can't send it to everyone, so you rip these two off. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Pretty neat to see that even in these smaller cases, at least within Canada here, that there is an option for people to get their money back from small claims, and this is a win. It's an overall win. Screw you, scammeronis out there that think you can get away with this stuff. And yeah, once it gets into larger dollar values, I mean, maybe it wouldn't be small claims. I'm not sure what the exact limit is of small claims court in Canada, but if anyone knows more about that, do reach out and let me know. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Another small win for the honest peeps out there. Take care of each other. Love you guys. Join the Discord. Bye.